The city of Blackwood once hummed with the proud thrum of industry, a beacon of American manufacturing. But that was decades ago. Now its factories stood like skeletal monuments, silent and decaying, monuments to a prosperity long gone. Blackwood was a lost city, a place bypassed by progress, its streets lined with forgotten dreams and a pervasive sense of quiet despair. Its youth, with nowhere to go and little to hope for, drifted. Into this silence returned Ethan Riley, a decorated Army Ranger. He carried the visible scars of a brutal urban combat mission and the invisible ones of PTSD. He'd come back to Blackwood, his childhood home, not for solace, but for seclusion. He sought a place where the emptiness around him mirrored the void within. He moved like a ghost, a man who had fought battles few could comprehend, now fighting an internal war in a city that had given up its own. He watched the aimless young faces, seeing in their eyes a reflection of his own lost purpose. Ethan's days were a monotonous cycle of restless nights and empty days, punctuated by therapy sessions he rarely felt helped. But one afternoon, a desperate plea broke through his haze. The old community center, a crumbling brick building where he'd learned to play basketball, was slated for demolition. It was more than just a building. It was the last faint pulse of Blackwood's collective memory. A small group of teenagers, passionate but directionless, were trying to save it. They were losing. He watched them, seeing their raw energy, their misplaced anger, and a spark of resilience he knew all too well. He saw soldiers without a mission, just like he had been. Something stirred within him, not a desire for glory, but a flicker of the old duty, the need to protect, to build, to lead. He approached them, his voice gruff, his words few, offering help. They were skeptical. What could this quiet, scarred veteran offer? Ethan didn't offer empty promises or grand speeches. He offered discipline. He offered his skills. He started with the basics: structural assessment, demolition safety, resourcefulness with limited materials. He treated the teenagers not as delinquents, but as a unit, a team. He taught them precision, accountability, the value of hard work. They learned to clear debris, to reinforce walls, to operate tools with a focus they'd never known. His military training shone through. He'd bark orders, but also teach strategy. He'd push them to their limits, but also ensure their safety. He transformed the decaying center into a training ground and the aimless teens into disciplined apprentices. The young people, initially resistant, slowly began to respond. They saw not just a veteran, but a leader who saw potential where others saw only problems. They saw someone who wouldn't give up on the building or on them. As the community center slowly took shape, so too did the individuals within it. Ethan started incorporating workshops, basic carpentry, electrical work, even hydroponic gardening in a corner of the building. He brought in other veterans he knew, those who also sought purpose, to teach specialized skills. The center became a hive of activity, a place where youth learned trades, found mentorship, and built tangible things with their own hands. But the biggest transformations were internal. Ethan taught them about teamwork, respect, and the quiet dignity of a job well done. He shared stories, not of combat, but of the bonds forged under pressure, the importance of looking out for each other. He subtly instilled the values of service and community. The teenagers, once isolated, formed a tight-knit group. They started calling him Sergeant Riley, not out of fear, but out of respect. They saw his scars, but now they saw the strength those scars represented. News of Sergeant Riley's project began to spread beyond Blackwood's forgotten streets. Local news picked up the story. Veterans helping youth revitalize Blackwood. Donors, inspired by the grassroots efforts, started sending materials. Older residents, once skeptical, began to volunteer.
sharing their own forgotten skills and stories. The project became a symbol of what Blackwood could be, a place of resilience, not ruin. But for Ethan, the real battle was internal. As hope swelled around him, his own PTSD sometimes flared. The sounds of construction, a sudden loud noise, a flash of light, they could transport him back to the battlefield. He learned to manage it, to lean on the structure he'd created, and, surprisingly, on the very young people he was guiding. Their progress, their newfound hope, became his own form of therapy. They were saving the building, but perhaps more profoundly, they were helping him rebuild himself. He wasn't just fixing a city, he was healing his own spirit through service. Years later, the Blackwood Community Hub stood tall, a vibrant testament to transformation. It housed a vocational training center, a youth mentorship program, and even a small business incubator. Ethan Riley, no longer just a recluse, had become the quiet, revered patriarch of Blackwood's resurgence. He hadn't sought recognition, but he had earned a legacy far greater than any medal. He proved that even in the most forgotten places, hope can be rekindled, that former soldiers, once warriors on distant battlefields, can become architects of peace and prosperity in their own communities, that the quietest heroes often carry the greatest strength, transforming not just buildings, but lives by simply showing up, leading by example, and believing in the potential of a lost city and its lost inhabitants. Ethan Riley's story reminds us that true service extends beyond the uniform, that healing can be found in purpose, and that one person's silent courage can ignite a symphony of change, bringing a once forgotten city back to life. If Ethan Riley's incredible journey inspired you, please consider sharing this story, liking the video, and subscribing to our channel for more tales of silent heroes and transformative journeys. Thank you for watching.